let's dive into conversation. I'll start with you, Bala sir. I'm sure it's a question in all our minds, and it's tickling between my teachers down there, my parents down there, and my students also to an extent. Traditionally, our school system has been structured around marks, exams, pressure. How do we balance this academic rigor with this entrepreneurial thinking and skill development in today's curriculum? Because as much as we put this outside the curriculum and run this as an individual program, I see the success falling down. So how do we make this happen? And I'm sure everyone here wants to know how we were going to integrate into the curriculum and make it a part of the process and not aside the process in various ways. And what are your thoughts about it, sir?
See, unfortunately, we have given ourselves to a linear mindset in the education system. And we disconnected knowledge in terms of disciplines and faculties. So when you talk of a literature, we talk of English, Tamil, this, that. When you talk of science, you take physics, chemistry, biology. But science is holistic. Literature is holistic. Education is holistic. Knowledge is holistic. Unfortunately, we have compartmentalized it, and therefore, we try to, compare children based on what they have performed in a school examination, all that. Unfortunately, this has really, beaten our education system. And I really believe that entrepreneurship is a very integral part of every subject. It is not that 11th and 12th class you do it. I'm very happy that you integrated skill development as a part of the thing, which is very, very essential. Because there's a huge difference between studying entrepreneurship on the book and practicing entrepreneurship on the field, Let me tell you a very small case study there. When I was a student like them in Chennai, I remember there were two people who were selling stainless steel vessels on the head. In those days, probably they exchanged old clothes and got them done over there. One fine day when they went to a house, they found that, asked the lady, what's the time? She said, I don't have a timepiece. She said, why don't you buy? They said, it costs about 30 rupees, I can't afford it. They said, okay, we will get you a timepiece, but now instead of 30, we will give us 40, 4 months, 10 rupees installment. And she agreed. They found it was a great idea. Now, incubating the idea, navigating the idea, and they become the empires of the real estate system, VGP, Golden Beach, if you are gone and all that. Both were them not educated. The whole question is, how do you think about an idea? So I think it's very important for schools that, you have to go beyond tech. Every subject is itself to teach, whether it's science or social studies, everything. Therefore, I think a board or an examination is not to be blamed for lack of entrepreneurship in the classroom. I think that's a responsibility of a teacher, because that is not evaluated. If a student gets 80%, 90% in entrepreneurship, there is no guarantee he's going to be an entrepreneur. It's an attitude. Therefore, I would appeal that every teacher from class 3, 4, 5 should use it as a pedagogical intervention to create a curiosity, to create an idea, facilitate how to navigate the idea, how to incubate the idea, how to translate the idea into a process or a product, and how to market that idea, right? I think these were even our great farmers in the field, have our great innovators and all that. I think we have really brought through our schooling system an examination process by which linear mindset has come. I'm happy that you have introduced entrepreneurship, skill orientation. Extremely happy that you have integrated with a lot of, industries and others, because there is a huge mismatch between industry and school. Industry 5.0, education 2.0. I think we need a lot of entrepreneurs, as Sir pointed out, lakhs of them. I think we need to seed right from class 5, 6. So teachers, please go beyond your textbooks. Textbooks, I often say, are only for the, the runways for an aircraft to take off. They don't define the flight. And it's for you to take entrepreneurship as a concept in the school system.
I'm very proud to say that we don't only prepare the runway, sir. We will make sure we are preparing our children even for breakdowns, because that's also a huge part of the process. And for us, that's very important. And I'm very grateful. You know, why I'm able to do this change is because I'm in an era of education where we're not teaching our students what to think, but we're teaching them how to think. It's not an era where we're asking them, do you know all the answers? But it's about asking them how to derive at answers and how to ask the right questions at the right time to implement that answers. So thank you for that beautiful insight. I'll come to you, MSR sir. I think you have worked in cutting edge of innovation and startups. You've seen how a state can build in the startup vision to itself. What are some qualities, or I would call it mindsets, that you've seen in successful founders that can be built in an early stage at a school level in order to make this journey a fruitful one? I wouldn't say it's always a successful one, because I feel failures add more to your entrepreneurial journey than success ends. But then my question is more about what needs to be embedded as a personality and a persona in children as they grow up in order to be prepared for this fight that the society gives you.
Thank you, Aisshwarya. I can go on for a long time on this, so I'll keep the answer short. But I think broadly, right? So when you think about it, at the end of the day, the essence of entrepreneurship, one critical part about entrepreneurship is problem solving. Okay? So for anyone who starts an entrepreneurial journey, it is usually about identifying a problem. So let's take the example of the young people who talked about this example of how do we create a more sustainable soap, etc. How do we make it biodegradable? How do we increase the shelf life, right? So I think the fundamental essence of entrepreneurship is about problem solving. So I think the most important thing in problem solving is about the ability, like you mentioned, the ability to think through the problem, right? I think we have to move away from this whole concept of rote memorization. Today, knowledge is ubiquitous. You can go to a Google or a ChatGPT or a DeepSeek or whatever. Everything is available on tap, right? So today, just being able to memorize is not important, is not critical. It is really our ability to think about what issues out there. So for example, let's take an example, right? We are talking about the UN SDG goals, for example, 17 of them. And India today, on many of those parameters, doesn't necessarily rank very highly. So entrepreneurship need not necessarily be only about making money, but it is about building something with purpose. And if you can, align it with profit, right? So the first thing for most successful entrepreneurs is find your purpose, okay? So what is it that you want to solve for? Why do you want to solve that problem? If you solve that problem, whose pain are you being able to fix? Is it for a small number of people, for a large number of people, etc., etc.? So that's the first piece. The second is, like you said, entrepreneurship has ups and downs. So I think it's also about building a mindset of resilience, being ability to bounce back from failures, right? It is about being able to collaborate, right? Behind every successful entrepreneur, there is a team, right? Nobody, except in the movies, Amitabh Bachchan style, every entrepreneur requires a team to build something, right? So like you've built a brilliant team of teachers here, etc., to execute on your vision. So the ability to rally people to your thought process is important. So I think, just to summarize, problem solving, critical thinking, you have to be passionate, okay? And I think I put it very simply. The most successful business people, if you ask them why they're successful, they will tell you two things. Love what you do and do what you love.
Yeah, I do both, sir. Which is why I think I'm standing in this stage today, and it's so important for all of us to understand this. And I think you brought in a very important topic of building a community of people. And I say this with a lot of pain in my heart, that what we do in schools is try to individualize everything. We're only putting up that one child's photo who's got that 98% or 99% and say that's what you need to aim for. But I think that's not going to take us far. what brings us here to these tables is not how you can lead something, but how can you make people lead a different thing. And that's what I want each one of you to understand here, that you might be an I today, but the I is not going to work as you walk out of this campus. What you need to create is a we, a strong we that will build a future. So thank you, sir. I think that's...
one last point.
Yes.
We all know team, right?
Yes.
TEAM. So team is together everyone achieves more.
Together, everyone achieves more. Thank you, sir. We will remember that. I'll come to you, Shruthi. At Mindspace, you offer a non-judgmental, safe space for reflection and growth, is what I have seen, heard, and watched you do. How can you create schools where the kind of emotional environment, especially for students pursuing ambitious goal like entrepreneurship, can be built? And how do you think these environments should strive? And how do you think stakeholders in this environment should conduct themselves for students to watch and learn this process?
I think that's a loaded question. But I think nonetheless it's important because it's important to build a generation and foster skills. Again, it comes back to skills. But I would like to definitely say that most of us, I mean, when you look at entrepreneurs, you think of them to have unconventional career paths. And when you look at that, you also come to realize that the reason our parents push us to school and then to find employment is because they want financial security, financial stability. The first thing to understand is that financial security and stability can be found irrespective of the field that you are in. It is about financial literacy and not about learning math and physics and then I'll become an engineer and get a big fat paycheck of 12 lakhs per month on my first job. No. It is about how am I going...
Say this harder. Everyone's listening. Because everyone works for that paycheck.
Yeah.
But it's about how many paychecks can you give out is more important than how many that you take is the mindset that we want.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's also about then financial literacy. So it becomes important for people and students to feel safe in honing their passion, in honing their skills, in honing their talent, right? Because when I was in university, when I was in PUC, I have gone dancing around in the world and no one gave me attendance, no one gave me concessions, nothing. I had to pay like fines because I would pay 7,000 every semester because I had less attendance. But it didn't stop me from doing well academically. What let me do that was that I felt safe pursuing my passion and saying that, okay, I love dance, I love mental health, and now I will find something to link it all together and be ambitious and create a career for myself. But that also comes with building a sense of safety in just being curious. So I think it's very important for teachers to enable students to feel curious, to ask questions, no matter how silly or stupid or dumb, to encourage questioning, right? Because we're told to not ask questions, but the more questions we ask, the more insights we get. So I think schools should enable safety. In questioning, in building skills, in doing what students love. And I think, like Sir said, a good entrepreneur essentially loves what they do and do what they love. And that's also what makes them successful. So it really comes down to helping children explore what they love and helping them also do what they love. And to make the space non-restrictive in that sense. I think it's very broad and there's a lot more to get into.
No,
but
I completely understand you, and I think curiosity should not just be a skill that's optional but mandatory in schools today, because what schools actually do in most cases, I shouldn't be saying this, is to kill that curiosity and not nurture it. And we want to be that environment where we nurture that curiosity and increase the why questions more, because if you don't ask the why, you'll never reach to the how and the what. So thank you so much, Shruthi, for that. I'll come to you, Janani, quickly. I think, In your journey, it has been important for you to do rigorous research, evidence-based practices, and been in gaining trust from modern audience. I feel today's program, like YVCC, is about helping unlocking the potential of India's ancient science. What is your take in it, and how do you see research helping entrepreneurship? Because everyone thinks entrepreneurship is always newness, but it's about discovering the newness in what exists, is what I have learned. So what is your take on it? How do you want to reach out to people to say that we are strong in our ancient history, but we should make use of that history to create the future?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked me that question. First of all, Ayurveda is a science which was written ages ago. So what makes it relevant today might be the question. Why do we need research? Well, research, we are looking back again. It is retrospective in nature. We need to understand how to apply those aspects today. Now, I'll share a few incidents. We were talking about how entrepreneurship is a very, it seems very lucrative, but at the core there are anxieties, there are fears that come across with any research. For example, my research topic was on nano zinc, prepared from Yashada Bhasma, that is in Ayurveda. And I had to integrate it with graphene oxide and chitosan to prepare a wound healing dressing for diabetic ulcers. Now, nobody had done this before, and there was no previous literature that was available. And my guide was not ready to permit the study to be taken forward. Now, what do? I went along, got to the modern science. It's about integration. Look around, what is there? Not paint yourself to a corner. What are the resources that are available in modern literature? Now, there was a study in IIT Madras which was done on graphene oxide. I took that up. My guide was very gracious enough. She gave me extra time. And the result was not positive. Let me tell you, it was a null hypothesis. It did not work on wound healing dressing as a on 333 fibroblast cells. Now, I got really panicked and I was cold completely because I have my final exams coming in the next 6 months. I have to submit my thesis. What do? Now, the biggest learning my mentor told me was, research is about to understand what does not work, to understand what might work. So that was the first step. And from there, I understood there were 8 other control studies which I had to do to actually zero in on the right concentration of these 3 parameters to hit the right result. So it is about also knowing what doesn't work out, which is why one point I wanted to mention was entrepreneurship is not about assessing your losses. It's about loss in the sense LAS is what I believe in. Learn, adapt, and share. It is a continuous process. Entrepreneurship is not a science or an art which you can master in a day. It is a continuous practice. You have to be at it continuously with resilience, like what she said.
Learn, assess, and
learn, adapt, and share.
Learn, adapt, and share. And I promise this will become a core of what we do as YVCC today. Thank you so much for that. I'll take the last question to you, MSR sir, because Pawan's not here. And I'm sure everyone wants to know that at Bava School, Bava Lead School, you have built a school with strong values and progressive methods. I say progressive because we're thinking ahead of time. How have you been successful in integrating entrepreneurial mindset in your own school system with among your own people? Also, what have you seen as the biggest mind shift change that parents need to make to come and support the child's non-traditional career or an entrepreneurial interest? And how are we going to ignite this curiosity among students through the Bava program?
I think there are 3 questions there.
Yes,
So
I'm in loss of time. I've told 8 minutes, but I can't not ask this question, which is why I'm asking.
Sure. So I think the first part, so first of all, Bauer is a startup,
Yeah.
right? And it is Pawan's 3rd startup. I have done 2 startups myself. And I think one of the things as an entrepreneur you learn very quickly is I talked about the importance of having a team, okay, which is aligned to what you are doing. And they're also thinking about saying, listen, we want to build something which creates value, which leaves a lasting impact. So I think that alignment to the core is critical. That's one. When you do that, I think one of the most important things is you have to learn to empower. Okay, you have to allow people to experiment, to try. Okay, I think like she said, to learn, adapt, and share. So you have to be able to give them, with freedom comes a responsibility, right? So it doesn't mean you can do what you want. You do something, but be accountable for what you're doing, and make sure, think deeply before you start doing something. Examine the pros and the cons, the potential impact, the potential outcomes, have a fallback scenario, what is your risk mitigation plan, etc. Right? So I think what Pawan has been able to do, first of all, a lot of his core team are people who worked with him in his last stint. So I think great attribute of being able to rally people around you, empower, okay, delegate, but not abdicate, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's a very critical element. So right now, obviously, we are working on the K-12. We are working on the undergraduate program. We're also working on a corporate engagement. We are building a platform, course builder kind of platform. So these are all diverse initiatives. These are all run by different people who are fully empowered. Obviously, there's a degree of financial controls you put in. You keep tracking what progress you are making, etc., etc. So I think the moral of all I'm trying to say is that to build something successful, you have to empower.
Yes.
Okay? But you have to empower, but also trust, but verify.
Yeah.
Right? So
And I also feel you brought in a very important point that I want all of you here to understand and listen is, it's entrepreneurship and leadership is not about doing everything on your own. It's about delegating at the right time, at the right point. We all feel delegation is pushing the problem away. It is actually solving the problem in the most credible way possible, because if you have to be there to solve every problem, then still you're not creating value.
So one mistake many entrepreneurs think is that they must be the smartest people in the room. You need not be the smartest people in the room. Most successful entrepreneurs will also tell you one more thing. If I have smarter people than me working for me, then I'm actually going to be successful.
Yeah, I second you on that. When I'm hiring talent, I want to be the dumbest in the room. Otherwise, I'm doing something wrong. And I can say this with every talent who's been with me, who's joined me. I don't know if we are all smart, but we are trying to be the best version of ourselves every day by learning. And my leaders are learners first before they become the leaders. And that's very proud that I stand here and say. And thank you to every teacher who's a learner, every leader who's a learner in our institution, and every student who is a learner in the process.
One word.
Yes.
Aisshwarya, Bangalore is known as a garden city.
Yes, sir.
It has a capacity for seeding hundreds of seeds. Today, you have sown 20 fertile seeds through the program.
60, sir, each.
60, okay, 60. I'm sure you have an opportunity for several hundred seeds of entrepreneurship to be sown. I'm sure you will take it up because Bangalore needs it. Thank you.
Yes, I will. And that comes to my last question, which I want one-word answers from all of you. Maybe keep it short. I'll bring in 2 questions because it's very exciting for me to ask this. Imagine we're meeting again in 2030, 5 years from now. What would success of this program look like? How would you see the Young Value Creator Circle impact India's future? If every school in India has to adopt this, because I'm not doing this because NHVPS should be the one school. I've never done a program for my school. I want to create programs that can walk into every school in my country and change the audience, because I don't know how many schools I can build, but I can help lead a lot of schools, and that's what we want to do. So how would our economy, our classrooms, and communities look different when we adopt a program like this, is what I want to know from each one of you. We can start with Shruthi.
I'm not one to say big things of, oh, there must be at least all of these students go out there, have big companies. I don't think so. But I think it is, if any mind from every graduating batch goes out with a thought and a thinking that's different, it will create impact, and then that effect ripples. So I think if we're looking at change, it should start in that way. And I would definitely say that just altering a person's way of thinking, to think different, to think creatively, and to want to be impactful, bringing that out itself means success. And I think that would be successful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Shruti. Yes, Janani.
Well, I would really think it would be successful if even a few minds sitting here started thinking today that whatever I have learned, what is it that I'm going to create from what I have learned? See, you don't have to wait for you to enter college or enter your employment phase. You have to learn how productive you are. See, you're in a space of AI. Your parents were not. So you have to survive only based on your creativity. So work towards creativity and not towards survival is what I would tell you. Work towards developing the right algorithm for decision making. See, there is one thing which we always think about when we are taking something new. For example, all of you must be wondering, we are sitting here giving so much gyan, you are wondering, oh, they must be doing things, how are we going to do? See, we all have our fears. Instead of focusing on how I can go wrong, this is personally something which I learned. I am somebody who can tell in a jiffy what are the possibilities where this project can go wrong. So to think in a positive way was very difficult for me when I started my journey. So you have to focus on how to take the right decisions. How can this work? Focus on that. How to make this work? How will it work for me? How will I feel if, like how Aisshwarya ma'am told in the morning, that was a very powerful sentence actually, keep that with you. Do I feel empowered when somebody pays me a price of what I have delivered for their vision and their values? Or do I feel empowered when I am creating value for myself? And in that process, setting up a system which looks after many people. That is the vision of India, as she said. Right? It is not something which is my firm, something which I am delivering to my customers. No. It is a system that you're creating which takes care of itself even after you're not there. When you pack off from this planet, is there something you have left behind? Yes. Because today it empowered you, you're in charge of your time, and you feel empowered when you pay the paychecks. You're able to charge your price. Nobody is dictating you what price you will charge. It is your value creation. You are adding the tag for your price, right? You're in charge of your time. That is very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful thing what Janani said. And we always say, youngsters today or all of us say, how are we going to make the money? But we need to understand money comes only when you create value. You need to be that irreplaceable in an institution, in an organization, in the society today, that money comes to you in the form of the value that you create and not you go asking for it. And that's how you make the money, my dear students and teachers. So let's make that value creation so powerful and give that paychecks to a lot more. Thank you so much, Janani. Yes, MS Asa.
So I'm going to take recourse to a quote from Gandhi.
Yes.
Okay, which is, be the change you want to see. Right? I think there's an opportunity for all the young people here to create change. Some of them will go on to build successful ventures. Some of them will be featured in Forbes 30 under 30 and so on.
Yes.
Right? But more importantly, I think they can be thought leaders, they can be influencers, they can create examples for others to emulate. That entrepreneurship is hard, but it's a wonderful journey. And at the end of the day, it is not about the money, okay? Because as somebody once told me, and a little crudely, you're not going to carry it with you when you're done. It is the legacy which you're going to leave behind, that you made the world and the planet and India a better place to live in.
Yeah.
So change, impact, number of jobs created, etc., etc. How have you improved the lives of people around you? How have you contributed to society at large? These are important things.
Definitely, sir. I feel value is not what you create in your presence, but in your absence. So that's what we want to inculcate in every child. Yes, Bala, sir.
Well, 20 years from now, I would not like you to be sitting on a panel discussion, doing a moderation. And I don't want a meeting or a conference of this kind. Probably the whole cricket stadium should be filled with the international entrepreneurs that National Hillview Public School has produced. And it should be an exhibition of the achievements they have made for the seeds that you have sown today. And that should be the vision of your program, what you have sown today.
Definitely, sir. My vision 2030 is when I have not 5 but 15 chairs put up for those students sitting down there to actually come here and guide the next batch of students and say, you are a part of this powerful value creator circle that we've just started today. We want to make it the most important, the most impactful, and the most efficient body that not only creates value for people around us, for the society and the globe. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I'm sure we're all proud NHVPNs sitting down here to watch two NHVPNs like this. We have a great mentor like Bala sir, we have MSR sir, and the entire Bauer team supporting us as we come together to not just follow a change, but be the change for the world to go. Thank you and have a lovely day. And I congratulate the entire team of NHVPS, my teachers, my leaders, my students, for being a part of an initiative like this, for taking this legacy forward. May this go to heights where we're not just in one school, but touch millions of schools as we touch millions of lives. A special thanks to M&M for putting this entire thing together, for Spread team, who've helped us envision and put those thoughts into action, for Bauer, who's been a part of our associate system to make this execution possible for us at the level that we want to. A big thanks to every teacher at NHVPS. You are the root of our fruit forward, and may our students live up to the entrepreneurship journey that we've started today. Thank you and have a wonderful day.